Hey there. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin McNamara. Right now, we are waiting on getting into the courtroom involving the man accused of going on a deadly shooting spree in Memphis who could enter a new plea. Ezekiel Kelly is accused of killing 3 people and wounding 3 others in September of 2022. Ezekiel Kelly faces nearly 30 charges, including first-degree murder, reckless endangerment, and conspiring to commit terroristic acts. On September 7, 2022, investigators said the shooting spree started around 1 in the morning when Dwayne Tunstall was shot and killed. Hours later, Allison Parker and Richard Clark were killed as well, with the city of Memphis going into lockdown. Investigators claim Kelly live-streamed the shootings on social media, and according to investigators, they found Kelly and chased him into Whitehaven, where he was arrested. Again, we are waiting to go into the courtroom right now involving Ezekiel Kelly, that man accused in a 2022 shooting and going on a rampage across the city. Again, this all started back in September of 2022 when Kelly was accused of killing 3 people and wounding 3 others. Kelly faces nearly 30 charges, including first-degree murder, reckless endangerment, and conspiring to commit terroristic acts. On September 7th, in fact, of 2022, investigators said the shooting spree started around 1 in the morning when Dwayne Tunstall was shot and killed. Hours later, Allison Parker and Richard Clark were killed, with the city of Memphis going into lockdown. Investigators claim Kelly live-streamed the shootings on social media, and we're going to take you inside that courthouse right now.
Your Honor, please, on the matter of Mr. Kelly, I'd ask to have the case advanced into today. We have tendered paperwork over to the state of Tennessee in a plea agreement. I believe all parties are in agreement on this, and we'd like to go forward with that.
Can you guys tell me when we're about to go on the air next time?
Yeah, she was on the line out of the
Judge, Mr. Kelly is in front of the court under indictment 2300416. It is a 28-count indictment, Your Honor. He is entering guilty pleas as charged under all 28 counts. It's an effective sentence, Judge, of 3 life sentences running consecutively with no parole, followed by 221 years for the various other counts. Judge, this plea is entered into with the approval of all victims in this matter and family members of the deceased victims. Judge, had this matter gone to trial, the state would have elicited the following set of facts, and it's lengthy, Your Honor. May I please sit?
Yes, sir.
On Wednesday, September the 7th, 2022, at approximately 3,300 hours, Ezekiel Kelly shot and killed Dwayne Tunstall at 3176 Lindell Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. Tunstall was pronounced dead on the scene at 1:04 hours. Witnesses advised that Kelly pulled Tunstall aside, brandished a black handgun, and fired multiple shots, striking Tunstall in the head. On September 7th at 4:35 p.m., Memphis police responded to a shooting call at 946 South Parkway East at the BP gas station. Officers observed a male, later identified as Richard Clark, sitting in the driver's seat of a Toyota Camry, suffering from gunshot wounds. Paramedics made the scene and pronounced the male victim deceased. Investigators were able to view security video from the gas station. The male victim exits the store and walks over to his vehicle on the east side of the gas station. As he opens the driver's side door and starts to get in, a blue-gray 4-door sedan, possibly an Infiniti, pulls into the lot and drives over to the victim. With his windows rolled down, the suspect points a handgun at the victim and shoots him several times. The sedan then drives off the lot southbound on College Street, crosses over South Parkway East and onto the interstate ramp. Victim Stevie Scott was parked next to Richard Clark on Clark's passenger side. Scott was sitting in the driver's seat when Clark was shot and was in the direct line of fire. At 4:36 p.m., Memphis police responded to a shooting call at I-240 southbound and Norris Road at the exit ramp. Upon arrival, officers located victim Lakeisha McGlathan suffering from a gunshot wound to her right upper thigh. Lakeisha stated a male occupying a dark gray sedan, possibly an Infiniti, pulled up to her while her father, victim Willie McGlathan, was changing her flat tire. Lakeisha stated the male asked her for directions to Whitehaven and after telling them, he fired at least 3 shots from inside his vehicle, striking her once in the thigh. Lakeisha described the male as having a dark complexion, spiky hair, and wearing a white t-shirt. Willie McGlathan stated a male driving a gray Infiniti shot his daughter while he was changing her tire. Willie stated the male looked him in the eyes, then went eastbound on Norris Road. Victims Lakeisha and Willie McGlathan both identified Ezekiel Kelly in a 6-person photo lineup as the man who shot at them, striking Lakeisha. At 5:50, Memphis police responded to a shooting call at 4011 Jackson Avenue at the AutoZone store. Upon arrival, officers observed victim Rodolfo Zepeda lying in the floor in front of the checkout counter, suffering from a gunshot wound. Zepeda was transported to Regional 1 Hospital in critical condition. Witness Christopher Bedsole advised that he was in line at the checkout counter when a male walked through the front door and shot about 3 times, striking Zepeda. The suspect then drove off in a gray Infiniti, according to Bedsole. AutoZone surveillance video shows Mr. Kelly park the Infiniti by the front door of the store. Mr. Kelly then approaches the store, opens the front door, and walks inside. He has his cell phone in his left hand and his handgun under his left armpit. He then immediately grabs the gun with his right hand and takes several shots towards victims Zepeda and Bedsole, striking Zepeda. The same incident was live streamed on Mr. Kelly's personal Facebook page under the name Zeke Huncho. At 5:56 p.m., Memphis police were flagged down at Millington Road and Hollydale Cove by Pamela Collier and Denise Taylor. They advised officers that Ezekiel Kelly, son to Pamela and brother to Denise, was on Facebook Live talking about just killing 2 people in South Memphis, and then he recorded himself shooting at someone to what appeared to be an AutoZone. Pamela advised that Mr. Kelly is driving a sky blue 4-door Infiniti. Also in the video, Mr. Kelly is holding a Glock handgun with a silver extended magazine, and it appears to have a switch to render it fully automatic. At 7:21 p.m., Memphis police responded to a shooting call in the area of Poplar Avenue and North McLean Boulevard. Upon arrival, officers observed a female victim, later identified as Allison Parker, laying on Poplar Avenue and suffering from a gunshot wound. Paramedics made the scene and pronounced Miss Parker deceased. Victim Bo Bates advised that he was driving westbound Poplar in his Dodge Ram in the far left lane when a gray Infiniti in the middle lane, also going westbound Poplar, turned left in front of him, striking his truck and causing both vehicles to crash. Several witnesses on the scene advised that after the crash, the driver of the Infiniti, identified as Ezekiel Kelly, exited the vehicle and started walking westbound. He approached a black sedan, but that vehicle immediately drove off. Mr. Kelly then approached a blue Honda Pilot driven by victim Randall Graham. Ezekiel fired several shots at the Honda Pilot, at which time Mr. Graham drove away but was struck in the arm. One of those bullets also went through the right pants leg of victim Matthew Carrozza, who was walking with his wife, Jill Carrozza, in front of 1811 Poplar. The bullet did not strike Mr. Carrozza, just his clothing. Mr. Graham was transported to Regional 1 Hospital in non-critical condition. After shooting at the Honda Pilot, Mr. Kelly continued walking westbound Poplar and approached a gray Toyota CHR, which was stopped eastbound Poplar. Ariana Parker was in the front passenger seat and immediately exited the vehicle and went over to the driver's side to try and get her mother, Allison Parker, out of the vehicle. Mr. Kelly entered the Toyota from the passenger side and then shot several times, striking Allison, who then exits the vehicle and falls to the ground. Mr. Kelly then drives away eastbound Poplar in the Toyota CHR. These events are captured on a residential surveillance camera. Witness Jerika Gents lives on Poplar near North McLean where this incident occurred. Gents advised she saw the suspect walking westbound Poplar after the crash and was approaching the vehicles. She then heard the shots and ran back inside her apartment. Miss Gents identified Ezekiel Kelly in a 6-person photo lineup as the man she observed on Poplar. At 8:52, South Haven, Mississippi police responded to a call for police at 580 State Line Road West at the Raceway gas station. Upon arrival, officers came in contact with victim Demetric Porter. Mr. Porter advised that he parked his Dodge Challenger next to a gas pump facing north towards the gas station. While pumping gas, a gray SUV pulls up next to him and rolls down the driver's side window. Porter immediately recognized the driver as Ezekiel Kelly, whose image had been on the news since the shooting at AutoZone. Porter then runs westbound away from his Challenger. At that time, Mr. Kelly got out of the stolen Toyota CHR and into Porter's Challenger and drove away from the scene. The Challenger is valued at $24,999 per Kelly Blue Book. Victim Demetric Porter was shown a 6-person photo lineup and positively identified Ezekiel Kelly as the man who stole his Dodge Charger. At 8:57 p.m., Memphis police received information from South Haven PD that the stolen Challenger was northbound I-55 heading back to Tennessee. Officers located the Challenger and gave chase, which ended at Hodge Road and Ivan Road. Mr. Kelly was taken into custody at 9:15 p.m. without incident. The 2008 Affinity G35 that was recovered from the crash on Poplar was reported stolen August 30th, 2022 by Lonte Smith from 3525 Gray Bark Drive, Memphis, Tennessee. The Infinity is valued at $2,500. The Infinity also matches the description as the vehicle seen in the surveillance video from incident number 1. Also, the male in that video was wearing a white shirt, which was the color shirt that Mr. Kelly was wearing when he was taken into custody. The ATF NIBIN team notified the Memphis Police Department and advised that it was determined that the shell casings recovered from 946 South Parkway East, 4011 Jackson, and Poplar and North McLean are a possible NIBIN match. ATF NIBIN also advised that those shell casings are a possible NIBIN match with the 9mm Glock Model 45 that was recovered from the Dodge Challenger that Ezekiel Kelly was last driving when he was taken into custody. The Glock Model 45 was illegally modified to allow it to fire rounds fully automatic. Mr. Kelly live-streamed portions of the events of September the 7th, 2022, making various threats to harm citizens. As a result of his live-streamed actions, the citizens of Memphis, Tennessee were placed in fear and subject to lockdowns in various public locations as the Memphis Police Department pursued Mr. Kelly. Ezekiel Kelly is a convicted felon under Shelby County Criminal Court Indictment number 20-02038, sentenced to 3 years for the crime of aggravated assault in 2021. Your Honor, had this matter gone to trial, those are the facts that the state would have elicited.
Your Honor, please, we stipulate that those would have been the facts as put forth by the state if the matter had gone to trial, and ask that you accept this negotiated plea.
Bring Mr. Kelly around.
Walk around. Stand in the circle, raise your right hand, take your gun.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give today will be the truth and nothing but the truth to help you God? All right, come have a seat, sir. So I'm going to go over some paperwork with you. If at any point I say something you don't understand, or if you have any questions, I want you to stop me and let me know. You understand? So the first question I have for you, sir, is how far along in school did you go? All right, now I'm going to need you to speak up loud and clear because everything we say is going to be recorded. I want to make sure we have a clear record of our conversation. Do you understand? All right, so you said you got your GED? Yes, sir. All right, so do you have any problems reading or writing?
No, sir.
Or you want any type of medication, drugs, alcohol, anything that would make it difficult for you to understand what we're doing today?
No, sir.
All right, so this first document that I'm going to show you is an order on a guilty plea. On the back side of this document, it has your constitutional rights listed out here. Now, because of the amount of counts, there's several pages of this. Have you had a chance to go over each of these documents with your attorney?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature on each of these documents?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, sir, I'm going to go over these rights with you again on the record to make sure that you understand them. As I stated before, if I say something you don't understand or if you have any questions, I want you to stop me and let me know if you understand. Sir, the first right that you have is a right to plead not guilty. What that means is that no one can make you say you did these things if you didn't want to. Do you understand that? Sir, you also have a right to a trial by jury, which means folks from the community come sit in those chairs. They would listen to the proof put on by the state, listen to the proof put on by your attorney, and they would be the ones to decide whether there should be a conviction in this case. But when you plead guilty, you waive your right to a trial and you're asking the court to issue a conviction. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We currently have a trial date scheduled in February. By entering this plea, that's going to eliminate that trial date and that's going to conclude your case today. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you also have a right to confront and cross-examine any witnesses against you. What that means is that anybody that's saying that you did the things that the state just talked about, you have a right to have them come sit in that chair and testify. Your attorney would ask whatever questions he needed to ask in order to help with your defense. But when you plead guilty, you waive that right. Do you understand that? So you also have the right to have any witnesses on your behalf come in and testify, even if they didn't want to. And if they didn't want to, the court could issue a warrant for their arrest, keep them in custody until they did testify. Do you understand that? Now, sir, you have an absolute right to testify, tell your side of the story. But you also have a constitutional right not to testify. And what that means is that no one can make you testify, not even the court. And if you chose not to testify, I would instruct the jury that they could not hold that against you. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. And sir, if you were to go to trial, and if you were to lose a trial, you would have an automatic right to an appeal, which means that another court would look at your case, see if there were any mistakes. If there were any mistakes, determine the remedies necessary in order to fix those mistakes. But when you plead guilty, you waive your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? And so you also have the right to have an attorney assist you at every stage of your defense. That includes anything that happens in this courtroom, anything that happens in the appellate court, and that right exists whether you can afford an attorney or not. If you could not afford an attorney, I would appoint an attorney for you. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. And so when a person pleads guilty, they waive these rights. They give up these rights, and they can never get these rights back again. You can't come in tomorrow and say, I changed my mind, I want to go forward with trial. Do you understand that? Now, sir, in this particular case, the state has filed a notice seeking the death penalty. So that changes a little bit the dynamics of the trial. Make sure that you understand what would have occurred at trial. Sir, if we were to have a trial in this matter, we would go through the proof. If the jury would have convicted you at trial, then we would proceed with a sentencing portion. At that point, the state would have to present additional proof as far as enhancements. Your attorneys would be given the opportunity to present mitigating proof. It would be at that point there would be a determination on whether a death penalty should be imposed. But without the determination at that time, there would be a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. You understand how the trial would have occurred if it were to have taken place? Yes, sir. Is your desire now to waive your right to a trial? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In this case, there have been several counts. I'm going to go through these counts and make sure that you understand what it is that you are in fact pleading guilty to. In count 1, you would be pleading guilty to the charge of first-degree murder. You would receive a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Count 2, you would be pleading guilty to reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon and receive a sentence of 2 years. That would be as a range 1 release eligibility of 30% offender. In count 3, you'd be pleading guilty to the charge of first-degree murder, receive a sentence of life without parole. Count 4, you would receive a sentence upon a plea to the charge of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. That would be a 2-year sentence. That would be range 1 release eligibility of 30%. Count 5 would be convicted felon in possession of a firearm. You would receive a sentence of 12 years, range 1 at the statutory required 85%. Count 6, you would be pleading guilty to criminal attempt, first-degree murder. Receive a sentence of 25 years to be served as a range 1 offender, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 7, you would be pleading guilty to reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. Receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, but at the release eligibility of 30%. Count 8, you'd be pleading guilty to employment of a firearm with a dangerous felony. Receive a sentence of 10 years at range 1, but at statutory required 100%. Count 9, you would be pleading guilty to criminal attempt, first-degree murder. Receive a sentence of 25 years as a range 1 offender, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 10, you would be pleading guilty to reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. Receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 11, you would be pleading guilty to employment of a firearm with a dangerous felony. Receive a sentence of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 12, you'd be pleading guilty to aggravated assault. Receive a sentence of 6 years, range 1, but at the required 100%. Count 13, you would be pleading guilty to criminal attempt, first-degree murder. Receive a sentence of 25 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 14, you would be pleading guilty to criminal attempt carjacking. Receive a sentence of 6 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 15, you would be pleading guilty to the employment of a firearm during a dangerous felony. receive a sentence of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 16, you'd be pleading guilty to employment of a firearm during dangerous felony, receive a sentence of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 17, you would be pleading guilty to reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 18, you would be pleading guilty to reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. In count 19, you would be pleading guilty to first-degree murder, receive a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Count 20, you would be pleading guilty to the charge of carjacking, receive a sentence of 12 years, range 1 at the statutory required 100%. Count 21, you'd be pleading guilty to employment of a firearm with a dangerous felony, receive a sentence of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 22, you would be pleading guilty to criminal attempt first-degree murder, receive a sentence of 25 years, range 1, release eligibility, or at the statutory required 100%. Count 23, you would be pleading guilty to employment of a firearm during a dangerous felony, receive a sentence of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. Count 24, you'd be pleading guilty to theft of property, $10,000 to $60,000, receive a sentence of 6 years, range 1, a release eligibility of 30%. Count 25, you'd be pleading guilty to intentionally evading arrest in an automobile with the risk of death. You would receive a sentence of 4 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 26, you'd be pleading guilty to theft of property, $1,000 to $2,500. You would receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 27, you would be pleading guilty to the charge of possession of a prohibited weapon, receive a sentence of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. And in count 28, you would be pleading guilty to the charge of commission of an act of terrorism, receive a sentence of 25 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. So those are the charges that you would be pleading guilty to. Sir, that has been the agreement that's been presented to the court. Sir, do you have any questions about those charges? Now, sir, the effective sentence would be 3 consecutive life sentences. In addition, there would be an additional 221 years. Sir, do you have any questions about the offer that's been presented to you? Now, sir, these are going to result in felony convictions on your record. With felony convictions, there's certain rights and restrictions that come into play. One is you lose your right to vote. The other is you can no longer have in your possession any firearms, ammunition, explosives. You can't even have just a bullet. It's important to understand possession does not just mean that you can't carry a weapon. It means that you can't be around guns. You can't be in cars where there's guns under the seat or houses where there's guns lying around. If you were to be picked up and another gun were attached to you, so they could bring state or federal charges. Do you understand that? Now, sir, in order for the court to accept this plea, the court has to make a finding that this is of your own free will and choice. Sir, is anyone forcing you, pressuring you, or threatening you in order to enter this plea today?
No, sir.
Is anyone promising you anything other than the offers I've explained it?
No, sir.
State, is there anything else that the state would like to present?
Judge, I will note, and it's indicated on the count 1 judgment sheet, that as part of this settlement, Mr. Kelly is waiving all his rights of appeals in this matter. And that's noted on the judgment sheet. And the state is pertaining to victim impact. We do have 1 witness to call.
All right, would you like to enter the microphone?
State calls Mr. Aubrey Miller to the microphone here.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, if I can have you state your name for the record.
My name is Aubrey Miller.
All right. Sir, the state has communicated that you would like to offer a statement. You can present that statement at this time, sir.
This will be a deterrent statement. Aubrey Miller, I have worked with the juvenile department here in Memphis. for 48 years. And I would just like to bring it to this young man that has did these vicious acts in his life. And I don't know, but I do know this. I'm just requesting him, no matter where they send you to your grave or to hell, God knows you, but the devil sentences you. And when you know that he sentenced you, all I can tell you, one day just look in the mirror, take a look at yourself and say, what have you done? You've been convicted of all these things, but I will tell you one thing. Your name is Ezekiel. It's come from a word in the Bible, fairness, but you can't see yourself. You have lost yourself. Only way you can find yourself is through God. You got to take him, read his word. He said, I didn't. My word will be a light unto your path, a lamp unto your feet, and never return to me void. He said, trust me. I am the way, the truth, and the light. No man, woman, boy, or girl can get to him unless they come through his son, which is Jesus Christ. Now I just want to say this much, young man. Wherever you be in prison, be there. You better look to him, because he saved you. He turned this around. It could have been the other way around. He turned it around, because he wants you. He wants you. He needs you. And I left this to all the young men that I have served under, with, even in the military. I retired. You got to look to him, who's the author and the finisher of your faith. Young men, old men, boys and girls, whichever you want to be, I've said this much. It's in the word. Oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness. And that will be for the wonderful work for the children of men. Man, in this place, you got a chance and a choice. Walk out there to fall into the right direction. Like the military, when you're falling in line, falling in for him. You got to go there, son. But if you go there for his purpose, because you know you've done these things, give your life to him. I just want to say that much.
Thank you very much.
Judge, that was Aubrey Miller, the brother-in-law of victim Richard Clark, and that concludes the state's proof.
Anything else additional from the defense?
You done?
Initially, I had wrote up allocution. I also had my legal team sitting on allocution. But I chose to get rid of it. And I noticed, even though that my legal team insists on me able to write one, I kind of noticed it. Insight that they had was limited, and they only could come from me. They only could come from my heart. That what I had to say couldn't be written down, or what I had to have was feeling. one been able to be explained by my team. But along the way, me being incarcerated, me being here in Shelby County jail, I experienced a lot of things in my life, and it gave me the ability to come here today and enter this guilty plea. And I believe there is nothing I can say about that day, than everything that occurred. I acknowledge that there's nothing I can say to either the victim or the victim family, but I believe that it's all about where do I go from here. And the choice I began to make along the way as I go through life, on this journey we call life. And I believe there's no closure for anyone, but I also know that there's nothing I can say to bring no one family member back. There's nothing I can say to give nobody any closure, but we all gotta deal with this within our whole life. And this one situation brought all of us together. And along the way, I noticed I was at the darkest place in my life around the time everything occurred. And today, at long the time I've been here inside 201, it was like God came to me. He came to me, and it's light that I'm feeling now, that I feel that I can take advantage of it and use it and be reliable to other individuals that's around me, to not, or try to contribute to them, their life, and not make the same mistake. Not even just, I can't call it a mistake, but you make decisions and you have to live with them. So, no, I really feel like words not that come to explain. Like, I'm gonna take advantage of these resources now. I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity now. God gave me a second chance. And Jim, I never thought like the man this kind of spoke today. He spoke upon just how God, seeing how God used him. He came through him to come tell me what I thought all along when this light I started experiencing, like I was coming from a dark place. And now it's what I do with it afterwards. And I think I use this testimony here to make an impact on others, because I see myself in a lot of individuals along the way, and it would make me have a change of heart now. And I seen how God gave me the ability to get up where I fell down and keep going and try it again, and kept trying again. So I say that today, just I'm gonna go forward. The victim's family, and also the victims that was along the way. This situation right here brought all of us together, and it was with a purpose. I can say God wanted me to cause no harm. God wanted me to do any of these things. I didn't want it to happen like this. For me, thing to change my life, something to change my life, like this, for me to change. I didn't see no light the way I was headed. The way I was living, I want to live in the righteous path. So, and I also do feel a apology, but I know this not enough. It's not enough for the victim family. I hope one day in y'all life y'all come to the point where y'all find in y'all heart, forgive me. And I also look to myself to forgive myself of the things that I done. And that'll be it. I keep going on and on, but there'll be nothing that can actually express. I cannot find the right word to express how I'm actually feeling in this moment. So, that'll be it.
So there was just one question that I just wanted to make sure as the state was referencing in this count 1 on the judgment sheet. So at the bottom of this judgment sheet, it has that the right to appeal is waived. So even though a person has a trial right, and if they were to go to trial and lose, they had a right to appeal. So a person still has a right to appeal a guilty plea and say that it was not done voluntarily or not knowingly, that there were other reasons why that guilty plea should be set aside. By signing this sheet, you're acknowledging that even though you still have a right to appeal, even though it may be minimized because it's a guilty plea, that you are waiving that right to appeal. Do you understand? Do you have any questions about that? So do you have any questions about any of the rights that we've gone over?
No, sir.
Do you have any questions about any of the things that have been explained to you through this paperwork or through this process?
No, sir.
Before we finalize this plea, sir, do you have any questions for the court or your attorney before we finalize this?
No, sir.
All right, sir, you can step down, you can go back to your seat, or stand next to your attorney. In indictment 2300416, upon a plea of guilt to this indictment, the court finds that there is a factual basis for this plea, that Mr. Kelly knows and understands his rights, that he's knowingly and voluntarily waiving his rights. It's a judgment of the court that Mr. Kelly is guilty of this offense. And the court now sentences Mr. Kelly in count 1 to the charge of first-degree murder, and sentences Mr. Kelly in count 1 to a period of life without parole. This is to run concurrent with count 4, 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, and run consecutive to the remaining counts of this indictment. In count 2, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with all counts. Count 3, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the charge of first-degree murder and sentences Mr. Kelly to a period of life without parole. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, and run consecutive to the remaining counts in the indictment. In count 4, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. It's intended that this is to run concurrent with all counts in the indictment. In count 5, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the B felony of unlawful carry or possession of a weapon to a period of 12 years, range 1 at the statutory required 85%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 20. Court sentences Mr. Kelly to the A felony of criminal attempt first-degree murder to a period of 25 years at the statutory required 100%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27. The remaining counts, it's to run consecutive to the remaining counts of the indictment. Count 7, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. Count 8, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony to a period of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutory required 100%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27. It's to run consecutive to all remaining counts. In count 9, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the A felony of criminal intent first-degree murder. Sentences Mr. Kelly to a period of 25 years, range 1, but that's statutorily required 100%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In counts 10, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. It's intended that this run concurrent with all counts of the indictment. In count 11, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony to a period of 10 years, range 1, release eligibility at the statutorily required 100%. It's intended to run concurrent with count 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 12, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of aggravated assault to a period of 6 years, range 1, but at the statutorily required 100%. This is to run concurrent with count 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 13, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the A felony of criminal attempt first-degree murder to a period of 25 years, range 1, but at the statutorily required 100%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 14, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of criminal attempt carjacking to a period of 6 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 15, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony to a period of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutorily required 100%. This is intended to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 16, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony to a period of 10 years, range 1, but at the statutorily required 100%. It's intended to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 17, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is intended to run concurrent with all counts of the indictment. In count 18, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with all counts of the indictment. Count 19, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the charge of first-degree murder and sentences Mr. Kelly to a period of life without the possibility of parole to be served at 100%. It's intended to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts. In count 20, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the B felony of carjacking to a period of 12 years, range 1, but at statutorily required 100%. It's intended that this run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. Count 21, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony. The court sentences Mr. Kelly to a period of 10 years, range 1, but at statutorily required 100%. Run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 22, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to a period, or to the A felony of criminal attempt, first-degree murder, to a period of 25 years, range 1, but at statutorily required 100%. To run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. Count 23, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of employment of a firearm with the intent to commit a felony to a period of 10 years, range 1, but that's statutorily required 100%, to be served concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 24, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the C felony of theft of property, $10,000 to $60,000, to a period of 6 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 25, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the B felony of intention to evade arrest in an automobile with risk of death, to a period of 4 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with counts 2, 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 26, and 27, but consecutive to all remaining counts of the indictment. In count 26, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony, theft of property, $1,000 to $2,500, to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is to run concurrent with all counts of the indictment. In count 27, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the E felony of possession of a prohibited weapon to a period of 2 years, range 1, release eligibility of 30%. This is intended to run concurrent with all counts of the indictment. And in count 28, the court sentences Mr. Kelly to the A felony of commission of act of terrorism to a period of 25 years, range 1, at the release eligibility of 30%. Felony convictions resulting in the defendant be rendered infamous. This is an effective sentence of 3 life sentences, consecutive life sentences, without the possibility of parole, plus 221 years, plus the cost of the cause to which lead minimus and execution be issued. The court will show indictment 2300416 to be authorized with no cost, or excuse me, this is 22. This is indictment 2204023. The court will show that indictment being authorized with no cost in its entirety.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you all. Stand in recess.
Court stands in recess.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us here on ABC. A lot to get in through there. Obviously, the top line, Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty to almost 30 charges, felony charges, including first-degree murder. He's been sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years. As part of that plea deal to avoid the death penalty, he waived all of his rights to appeal those verdicts. So some closure for the families. You heard Kelly actually spoke a little bit earlier. You'll hear more from him, and we'll have much more on this story on 24 Plus and throughout the day here on ABC 24, including coming up soon on midday. Thank you for joining us. With us here on 24 Plus. Again, I'm Kevin McNamara. We're going to go to our Leah Williams there downtown at 201 Poplar with updates shortly on what's just gone on with Ezekiel Kelly. Again, we'll be going to her momentarily, but just some top line stuff here. I'll recap what we just heard there in the courtroom. Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty to almost 30 charges. Felony charges. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years. Emotional scenes in the courtroom. Again, we'll take you to our Leah Williams there momentarily once she's situated and has everything up in line. But, you know, you heard a victim statement that was very powerful, a relative of one of the victims in that 2022 shooting spree, invoking the biblical nature of the name Ezekiel. And, you know, you can just imagine the pain of those families getting some closure today here as Ezekiel Kelly has pled guilty to almost 30 charges related to that 2022 shooting spree. And he has been sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years in order to avoid the death penalty that the state had been seeking in the case. A very emotional scene there in the courtroom. Ezekiel Kelly actually himself showing some emotion, particularly as this was coming to a close, as that victim impact statement was being read, tears coming down the face of Ezekiel Kelly here as he pleads guilty to almost 30 charges related to that 2022 shooting spree, including first-degree murder, multiple charges of first-degree murder, conspiring to commit terroristic acts. This all happened back on September 7th of 2022 when Dwayne Tunstall was shot and killed around 1 in the morning by Ezekiel Kelly. He then began to live stream shootings on social media, shooting multiple other people in the Memphis area, causing the city to really go into lockdown. Eventually, Kelly was chased into Whitehaven, where he was arrested, and he'd been awaiting his day in court there for almost 3 years now. But that saga has come to an end with Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty to those murders as well as a number of other charges. Again, one of the victims' family members speaking in court there as the sentences were being read out offered some words of peace to Kelly during his statement. And again, there was actually some emotion coming from Kelly there on the stand, tears flowing. Kelly himself chose to speak, didn't have to, but chose to speak, showed some contrition. He was apologetic, acknowledging the pain he had caused, though saying, he knew nothing that he faced was going to bring those victims back, and vowing to work on himself in prison, become a better person now that he's been given a second chance at life instead of being given the death penalty. That's why he pled guilty. We're going to take it over to our Leah Williams there shortly. I understand she's got someone there that she's going to be speaking to. Leah? Okay, looks like she's got the District Attorney Steve Mulroy there waiting for him to set up. He's going to read some kind of word into the record along with the rest of the state attorneys. Again, part of the group that is part of the prosecuting attorneys will take it to him now.
Working on for a while. I just want to say that death penalty cases can drag on for years, if not decades, making the families and the victims stuck in the pain. What we achieved today achieves certainty and finality, making sure that Mr. Kelly will never see the light of day, and also honoring what we have heard from many of the victims, which is they are ready to move on with their lives.
As you said in the beginning, this case didn't fit the death penalty case. No case. You don't know which case would. Do you think these families are satisfied with this plea?
Yes, I do believe they're satisfied. We've talked to them extensively. The trial team has talked to them extensively about this, and they are satisfied with the plea. As I said, it meets their desire to have this over with, to be able to move on with their lives, and we also know that Mr. Kelly will spend the rest of his life in prison. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the trial team, Chris Laro and Devin Dennis, and the rest of the trial team did an excellent job on this case. This was an extremely complicated case. As you probably have already known, there were over 400 potential witnesses, 300 or more different types of videos, multiple locations. It was a lot of work, and the trial team did a good job of putting it all together and reaching what I think is a very effective and just settlement. I also wanted to mention that Mr. Aubrey Miller, who was the brother-in-law of victim Richard Clark, who was killed on that dark day, who you heard speak earlier in the courtroom, he's also here with me to show support for what has happened today.
Mr. Miller, if we could hear from you for a second.
Yes.
Obviously, what you said spoke to him. He got emotional as you were speaking. What did you feel as he began to speak back to you and all of the families?
The thing I was really looking at is the appearance of a life, a child. You know, I have watched over children for a mighty long time. And I just look at him by me being in the juvenile department, used to be a counselor and plus a probation officer. He was just one of them in that bush that I didn't get a chance to really relate to him before that time. And now I see, as I tell many of us, if you don't understand what you don't understand, it's like the Bible would tell us, all that I get understanding. And people say, what I need to understand? Well, he said in the Word, get understanding. And what the understanding is the Word of God. See, God blew breath into man, and he become the living soul. And everything in the soul of man is either the woman or the male or the others. So we have to look at telling me. But if you want that reassurance, he said, I've already sent my son, my only son. I sent him here to this place to dwell among you so that you will know and know that you know by observing him, because he came as an example.
And on the topic of understanding or not understanding, I will note that when I was speaking to some of the victims earlier, they wanted to understand why. Why did this happen? And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever know for sure why this happened. This was a tragedy for Memphis on my first week on the job, actually. So we don't necessarily know why it happened, but one thing we do know for sure is that today, I think we achieved some justice.
My question to Mr. Miller, this is, Ezekiel kept saying, I don't have the words, but one thing we heard loud and clear is, I want forgiveness. Is that something that, are you extending?
Extend that, because I've been military. You given a weapon to go out there to shoot an enemy that you don't know, and he may take you out before you know. So I kind of put it in perspective, police officers, you be out here, sometimes things happen to you. Just regular people walking the street. You got to be aware of what's in your heart. Always think of what's in your heart. If that's the satanic move that you want to go out there to do something wrong, let's talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to the Lord. Tell him, if you don't understand, that's the Lord. I don't understand why I'm here, what this happened. I can walk out that door and this be my last. I don't know, but I can comfort people with his word, because he said it in the word. He said, my word will be a light unto your path, a lamp unto your feet, and never return to me, void. So I don't have to worry about the one down here. It's the one that I don't see. I don't see.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore, what message does this send about any future cases that may come around?
Well, what I think it sends the message is that we're not tolerating any kind of violence, but particularly this kind of random violence which terrorized an entire city for 5 hours at least and put us on lockdown. When this type of violence occurs, there will be consequences. There will be accountability. And in this case, it's pretty serious accountability. We're talking about 3 consecutive life without parole sentences on top of an additional 221 years. We are doing everything we can possible within the bounds of the law to make sure that Mr. Kelly never sees the light of day after what has happened. So I think that's the message. The message is that violence won't be tolerated and there'll be consequences.
I know you ran on the standpoint of being against the death penalty.
Yes.
Do you feel differently now that you've prosecuted 2 that ended in plea deals?
I'm not sure that I feel differently. I think if I were a lawmaker, I would probably not support the death penalty. And there are very good reasons why I don't support the death penalty. But given the fact that the law in Tennessee does have a death penalty, and I'm charged with enforcing the law, then I need to make decisions about when it is appropriate to seek the death penalty. And as you mentioned earlier, at the time, when I made the announcement with Mr. Laro that we were seeking the death penalty, I said, if ever there was a case where it would be appropriate, it would be this one.
We are about a month away from marking 3 years since this incident. I know you had said that the family wanted to move on, or was ready to move on. What kind of timeline were we looking at for this case, like getting to trial and wrapping up at trial? Because I know there was a lot of evidence, you said
Sure.
hundreds of witnesses as well.
Because of all the evidence and all the locations, the trial prep was taking a long time. We had, excuse me, had the trial set for July of this year, but it got postponed yet again to next February. Assuming that it did take place on time, it would have taken a while. Even if we had gotten a conviction, and we're pretty confident we would have gotten a conviction, then there would have been appeals process that would have dragged on for years. And then there's post-conviction remedies, which I think are important. They are essential. We have to have them, but they do take time. And that goes double, if not triple, for death penalty cases. The courts are very, very careful to give every opportunity to the defendant to raise any issues about either the conviction or the appropriateness of the penalty or any of those problems. So it is not at all uncommon for these death penalty appeals and post-convictions to last decades, in which there is no closure during that time. And so I think that explains why the families of the victims and the victims themselves felt that this was an appropriate resolution.
D.A. Mulroy, with it even just being so close to the trial, would you still say it's kind of an ideal outcome for him to have this change of heart and plead guilty?
An ideal outcome? From what perspective? I'm sorry.
Just versus taking it to trial, and like you were saying, how it goes through the appeals process.
Oh, yes. I mean, I do think so. First of all, it takes away any risk. There's certainty. We know for sure he will spend the rest of his life in prison. There's no doubt about that. It is final. It doesn't drag on for years and decades. It gives the families closure. It allows all of us to move on. So that's why I think this is a good outcome. And again, kudos to the trial team for the hard work they did in bringing this about. I guess that's it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
We're going to take it back to our Leah Williams here shortly once she's situated, but I'll just try and recap some of what we have now. Again, Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty for multiple murders during that 2022 shooting spree back in September of that year. He has been convicted and will now face 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years. You heard the sibling of a family member of one of those victims there speaking. He also spoke in the courtroom towards Kelly. Kelly actually showed some emotion for the first time during this trial. Tears were falling from his face. Showed some contrition, showed some apology, understood that nothing he was going to say was going to bring any of those victims back, but he will spend the rest of his life in prison. And we're going to take it over to our Leah Williams right there, who's been in the courtroom all morning. Leah, I guess just what's the mood over there? What's the vibe?
Yeah, Kevin, you just kind of recapped what D.A. Mulroy said, but we want to take it back to what happened in the courtroom this morning. Ezekiel Kelly actually got very emotional. Now, he did plead guilty to all 28 counts, so he's going to have 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 211 years, so very long sentence. And there were over a dozen victims and their family members in the courtroom. Some of them were in the courtroom, others were on Zoom. All of them very emotional, especially while Ezekiel Kelly was speaking. One of the men that we actually just heard from with D.A. Mulroy was the brother-in-law of Richard Clark, who was one of those victims who was killed during that shooting spree. That was Aubrey Miller. So he actually worked with juveniles for decades. So he kind of spoke about how he wishes those cases like that where he can get them and kind of mentor them while they're younger before they go doing these violent acts. He also told Ezekiel Kelly to take a look in the mirror and really just see what he did and get right with God. And that is what made him very emotional. Ezekiel Kelly was crying. He had to get himself together before he actually started speaking because he was crying, breathing heavy, had multiple tissues, just very emotional in the courtroom. Some of the family members also were emotional in that courtroom. So Ezekiel Kelly did apologize to the families, but he also just reiterated the fact that there's no words he can say to really bring these people back or bring these families closure.
I understand there's an interview going on.
But he also said that he wanted to
kind
take
of
this
nearby
opportunity
you. Is there a way we
since
could
he
get
had
the
this change
camera
of heart
over
and
to
did
that?
plead guilty. He wants to take this opportunity to change his life and to help others change their lives to stop from committing these violent acts. So just a lot going on in the courtroom, but a lot of emotions mostly, Kevin.
Yeah, I can certainly imagine. Leah, I understand there's an interview kind of going on right near where you're at. Is there a way we could get you over there to get involved in there? We want to hear from as many people and as many voices as we can.
Yeah, let's go back
here
over.
on this case of Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty, and he will face 3 consecutive life sentences. We're going to go right back to Leah here shortly when she gets set up properly again. So the victim's family members speaking in court. A very emotional scene here down at 201 Poplar on this Wednesday morning. Tears falling from Kelly's face as well as from family members there nearby. And we're going to take it back now to the courtroom. Leah.
So, we met Monday, I believe. He just said, I want to speak how I feel.
What were your thoughts when he was talking up there? He was obviously very emotional. How are you feeling hearing him on the stand?
With me, I've been talking with Mr. Kelly probably every week for, a year or two now. Okay, so I sort of know, expect how he's going to be or what his thought processes are in this kind of situation. I was glad to see him be able to muster up the words to say something to the family. And say, I think he more wanted to say he was sorry. And, he's expressed that to me several times. But he said he just wanted to speak from the heart. And I think that Mr. Miller, I believe, who came up and spoke, had some very good words, spoke directly to him. And I think that really gave him the feelings of what to say while on the witness stand.
Well, Mr. Cho, we've seen a bunch of surprises just like today.
Yes.
In this case, you were hired, then fired, and then he represented himself for a time, and then rehired. How has this relationship been?
Well, I tell you this, Mr. Kelly has been nothing but respectful. We've always had a good relationship. We talked about the situation where he wanted to represent himself. I think anytime you have a person that is in a desperate situation like this, lots of things go through their head. We talked, it was no reflection on our relationship. I told him that this is what your decision is, and I think the minute he found out what it was like to be in court, he was like, this is not a good idea. And so, and then after that, the relationship has always been fine.
Did he realize the seriousness of the death penalty? I mean, this is something that very few people under D.A. Mulroy has gotten.
Correct. Did he realize the seriousness of this? Absolutely. Anytime the state of Tennessee is trying to kill somebody, and that's basically what we do with the death penalty, it's state-sanctioned killing. And anytime that's the situation, everybody realizes how serious it is. And that's obviously why you spend a lot of time with your client. That's why we have a large team that works on the case. And he was not without realizing the gravity of the situation.
I heard you say the most difficult part was to get the death penalty off.
Well,
did they want to keep the death penalty on?
Well, in this kind of situation, what we had, we had a case where basically part of the offense was videotaped. It was published live. And we also have a case where, very few people in the city of Memphis do not remember that day. Okay, where you were doing or what was happening when that took place, and when a shelter-in-place came out, everybody sort of remembers what they were doing, what was going on, and so that's about all I can say about that.
I'm curious if you have any thoughts. You talked about when it happened, he was in the darkest place of his life, and he talked about, his time incarcerated before, and he's so young. Does this talk about the need for mental health services and reaching our youth early and violence?
And here's the thing. When you go into a case like this and we have a sentencing phase of things, you talk about a person's life and what happens. And, interesting thing that Mr. Kelly commented on to me, and I'm not sharing any attorney-client thing here, but was that people aren't really interested to hear about how bad a person's life is or how bad their situation is when they're dealing with a horrific incident like this. But if you want to see an example of what happens when we don't do things for our youth and we don't counsel them and take care of them when they're younger, Mr. Kelly's the example. And if you guys don't believe it, we would put on a history of Mr. Kelly that showed him involved in the system from minute one. And I'm not saying involved in a bad way. I'm not saying involved in a way where he was committing crimes or things, involved in a way with his family and stuff. And he is a prime example of, if we don't start correcting that situation and correcting it at an early age in our community, as a community, this is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see. We're going to come in these courtrooms, and this is what's going to happen. We've seen it time and time again. At some point, our leaders, our people in our community need to get the message that, it's just not a lot of fluff about what these kids go through. And, we can all go home and be fine and live our lives, but these kids go through some horrific things. And I'm not sitting here giving any excuses for Mr. Kelly, but we've got a broken system and we've got a broken situation with our youth, and we need to do something about it.
I know there's client attorney privilege, but did Mr. Kelly ever tell you why he did this? I know he said on the stand he was in a dark place, but
I can't get into that. That would be, to me, I think that is something personal between Mr. Kelly and the victims' families. And so if they want to know, then, I think that is their right and stuff to know, but I think that is something that needs to be kept private with them.
Well, you and Ms. Tipton, again, have been alongside, Mr. Kelly for the longest. What was that turning moment when you recognized, because I can remember when he was 19, even having that mugshot taken when he was smiling. And then it's almost like every court case, it's almost like you could see he was being humbled. Something was happening. So when did you notice that there was a switch that was hit?
I probably noticed more of a switch in Mr. Kelly, I'd say, about the time when we continued the trial dates.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd say about that time. I noticed a change and a switch in him somewhat, but he really started to switch a lot at that point.
And I would say that there wasn't a distinct switch on or off, but it was a process. And I think Mr. Kelly has had a process. He's processed what the conduct was during these crimes, and then an enormous growth in Mr. Kelly personally since that time. And it goes back from who he was on the day when this first killing occurred to who he is today. I think that he started changing when he came back and he asked us to come back on the case and start helping him, and he was in a different place and was moving towards what ultimately happened today.
And I think about Mr. Kelly, I don't think he wants it to be about him right now. He wants it to be about the families that have gone through this horrific event, and them being able to at least have this finalized in court where they can stop having to worry about court dates, stop having to come to court, stop having to worry about a trial date, and can go about on their process of what they have to do. They'll never be healed, but they'll go through the process of trying to heal some.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Well, when he kept saying, this is my last question.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's almost like he couldn't form the words, and he admitted. What was he trying to say when he said, this brought us together? Because there was even reaction from those sort of in the gallery, from the family and victims, when he was saying, this brought us together. So what do you think, someone that has spent years with them, what was he trying to say?
It's something that's brought us together. I think he was more trying to say that, these events have led us all to be in this one room, and he wants to show that the situation that he's been given, the new lease on life, that he is not going to waste that, and he is going to try to do everything positive he can in the future on behalf of the victims and their families. And that I know he really just trying to find the right words to say I'm sorry in a meaningful way. And he would always tell me, he said, there's no way to put it into words where it won't sound hollow. And there really isn't.
There was just an audible gasp, from the family.
And I can understand that, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, that was Kelly's attorney, Michael Scholl, confirming just speaking to Kelly's state of mind here as we wrap things up. Again, Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty in that 2022 mass shooting. He faced nearly 30 charges, including multiple counts of first-degree murder, and he has now pled guilty and has been sentenced to 3 consecutive
Not in the
life
middle.
terms plus 221 years. You're looking at some pictures of the victims here. Dwayne Tunstall, Allison Parker, Richard Clark. It was Richard Clark's family member who spoke there in the courtroom and after, sort of giving an impact statement, talking to Kelly, and sort of showing a lot of emotion, tears falling from Kelly's face as he apologized to some of the victims' families, admitted that what he was saying was not going to bring anyone back, but that he was glad to bring some closure. And again, those families now do have some closure, as they have, again, Ezekiel Kelly has gone to prison for 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years. Again, getting emotional, saying Poplar changed him. Again, Kelly addressing those victims' families, saying God didn't want him to cause the harm. And he's also waived his right to appeal. Once again, Ezekiel Kelly pleading guilty and has been sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences plus 221 years. Stay tuned for updates on ABC 24 midday at 11 and the 24 Plus app. Again, Kelly has pleaded guilty to all of those murders on ABC at midday. Learn more about Kelly's court appearance. Thanks for watching.